Legally, President's Day does not exist. It was created by retailers. So you might say it officially exists on greeting cards. But seriously, it's not an actual federal holiday. Here is the official story of President's Day. Welcome to YouTube. President's Day is celebrated on the third Monday of February every year. In 1880, implemented an act of Congress, the federal holiday was originally titled Washington's Birthday. It was an honor for George. G.W. was born on February the 22nd in 1732. Now, not G.W. I'm referring to our first president, George Washington. Here's a fun fact for you though, G.W., if you're listening in or tuning in today. W, your daddy had a grand total of 4 names. George Herbert Walker, Texas Ranger Bush. I just like Texas Ranger. That part, it's not true, but it just flows so well with his name. Well, the point is, George Washington didn't have a middle name. And, as history has proven, an assassin of any politician or any giant public figure has to have 3 names. George Washington, he only had 2 names. He knew he had to do something with his life besides become an assassin. So, he took his 2 little names and he went to live as president in the White House. He rode on his white horse up to the national capital, Washington, D.C., only to realize that there was no capital there, nor was there a Washington, D.C. There wasn't even a street sign with his name on it. So he rode over to the White House, only to find that there was no White House there either. But George made more whiskey than any other plantation owner of his day, so he headed back to Mount Vernon, his home, and he got drunk. Right about 1951, the first attempts were made to honor the office of the presidency. A fellow named Harold Fisher wanted to make March 4th an official President's Day. That was our great nation's inauguration day originally, but the action was stalled in the Senate Judiciary Committee, which had authority over national holidays. Around that time, the governors of the majority of individual states issued proclamations declaring March 4th to be President's Day in their respective states. Now, this gets confusing, so hang with me, alright? Here's a refresher. Our first president already had a national holiday set in place in 1880 known as Washington's Birthday. Pretty creative of our Congress, don't you think? By 1958, things were really moving along at breakneck government speed. An early draft of the Uniform Monday Holiday Act would have renamed Washington's Birthday as a federal holiday known as President's Day to honor the birthdays of both Washington and Lincoln. The holiday would kind of be sandwiched between the 2 birthdays. But again, this proposal failed in committee. 10 years is a finger snap in politics, and the bill that was voted on and signed into law on June 28, 1968, kept the name Washington's Birthday. It tickles my funny bone to see how government operates, because President Washington was born in February, so why they would call a holiday in March Washington's Birthday is the reason our form of government works so well. We will literally take years to make sure a proposal or bill is accurate. So Congress bolted into action like a frightened walrus, and in just 3 short years, they finally got it right. The Uniform Monday Holiday Act was an act of Congress that finally established the observance of certain holidays on Mondays. It's holidays like Memorial Day, Columbus, and Veterans Day. Fixed dates designated to Mondays. The act was signed into law on June 28, 1968, took effect immediately on January 1st, 1971. January 71 was a good year. The 15th, George Harrison released My Sweet Lord. My Sweet Lord. I love that song. Also, Robert James Bob Ritchie was born January 17th of 71, known by his stage name, of course, as Kid Rock. Also in 71, one of my favorites, Aqualung, was the 4th studio album by the rock band Jethro Tull. Unstreaky cold, old man wandering lonely, taking time the only way knows. Looking like
Feeling like a dead.
Oh, I'm sorry. I love that song. I just love that song. Anyway, by the mid 1980s, with a push from advertisers, the term President's Day began its public appearance. Car dealers wanted to have huge sales, and J.C. Penney needed to have a big after Valentine's Day discount President's Day rack sale, and so on. Big business stepped up to the plate and got government kicking its wheels into high gear. Most folks started calling it President's Day, but there were still some holdouts.